Yo, welcome. It is Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Spitting with Spitter. We are here. Let me get this dudes out of the way before we start. If you haven't already, go to 2M1L Media, click the like, subscribe, and share. Uh, my sponsors for all your vaping needs, go to Lehigh Vape. That's on 822 Nazareth Pike in Nazareth. Tell them TJ sent you. They will take care of you for all your CBD needs. Go to Mom and Pop CBD Shop. That's 312 Town Center Boulevard in Forks Township. Again, tell them TJ sent you. They'll take care of you. Now, welcome to the show. This has been so far a very deep month of addiction and mental health. And tonight we have my guy Mo, who is addiction and alcohol counselor, co-occurring. Am I saying that
Co-occurring.
right?
That's right, yeah.
Co-occurring. Mo, introduce yourself for the people that are watching.
How you guys doing? I'm Mo. If you don't know me, I'm from Phillipsburg. I grew up with TJ here. He's nice at ball. That's how we got to know each other. Still got that three shot I heard.
Doesn't leave.
Yeah, it doesn't leave.
Doesn't
And
leave.
yeah, I've been doing uh in the addiction field for about 6, 7 years now. I've
Okay.
been all over the place, different jobs and whatnot. But now, right now, I found myself landed working with mental health and addictions. So I'm just enjoying the ride.
That's it, man. What got you started in this field?
Well, I want to say I was about, I don't know, 22 years old or so. And
Hmm.
I have a godfather who he was struggling with alcohol addiction his whole life. He did end up passing away from, he was 10 years clean, but he passed away from um, cirrhosis in the liver. But when he was alive, we kind of found our way of bonding because I was going to Rutgers for my certified drug and alcohol counseling, and that's what we kind of bonded on. So I would give it to him. That's the reason I wanted to be in the field. I wanted to give back, something that I never had growing up was that
Right.
relationship.
And so you work in a facility now?
Right now, Act Services is it's like a mobile crisis unit. So we
Okay.
work with um, the mentally sick that are at the worst possible scenario. They have to have been hospitalized within the last 6 months. Um, frequently go into the hospital. They can't really take care of their own medications. So our job and our goal is to keep these clients out of going to the hospital. We're like a hospital without walls, basically.
Okay.
Due to COVID restrictions, we're doing everything virtually. So my company just purchased about 40 iPads to give to the clients so they can do Zoom meetings. I'll be running an addictions group counseling session once a month. So just try to keep them all involved as much as possible right now in this tough time.
What challenges have you faced? And this is such a tough time with
Hmm.
COVID and all that entails as far as being able to be there for your patients or them
Well,
being able to show up, period.
yeah, one of the biggest struggles we're dealing with mental health clients and clients who have addiction. So a lot of them don't have the resources. A lot of them don't have cell phones, computers, so on and so forth. And yet we're trying to contact these people, every day of the week just to keep them, sane, keep them living, get their needs met. Sometimes as a counselor myself, I take this stuff personally. I'm telling my boss, I'm gonna go drive out to this dude's house because I haven't heard from him in 3 days. Like, I want to make sure he's good. But the struggle is we can't be doing that with COVID. We have to put ourselves first.
It's I found when I was working as a recovery specialist that you take every case with you, whether you want to
Mhm.
or not. And do you find yourself doing the same thing?
Yeah, absolutely. Since I've started, um, the one thing I've been trying to learn how to disconnect my job from my home life. But I still find myself at the dinner table talking about what went on at work today and how I want to help this dude tomorrow or something. It's always been like that for
It's
me though.
tough. It's
Hmm.
tough, man. Not to get into your personal business, and if you don't mind sharing your experience, do you suffer from any addiction symptoms or mental health issue?
Sure. Mental health wise, I was diagnosed with generalized anxiety, just your basic anxiety needs. Probably when I was about 15. Been on medication for it. I've been through therapy myself. Um, Most recently, we got my buddy Connor coming on tonight.
Hmm.
His fiance actually does therapy, and I did a session with her, and it's definitely helpful. As for addiction, which some people might know, some people might not know, but I do have struggled with gambling in the past. Um, I found myself preaching to these people, telling them to utilize their coping skills, what's your triggers, this, that, the next thing. Yet I find myself back in the casino, back online gambling, wasting my own money, not listening to my own words. So, I definitely struggle with some of that stuff as well.
It's that's the slippery slope, and we were talking offline about this. It's real hard to consistently practice what you preach. We're all human, right? And it's hard to be mindful of your own triggers and your own issues while you're also in that field.
Absolutely.
So we're not. I don't want to get too into detail, but I would like to know, like, when you're dealing with a client that has co-occurring issues, what are some of the coping skills that you try to help them with?
So, first and foremost is we want to figure out what their milieu is. Milieu is just a fancy word for what their environment is, where they're living, who they're living with, who their natural supports are.
Right,
Um, when we talk about coping skill, that's a client to client individualized. Because I can
right,
come to you and I say, what do you enjoy? Oh, I know you like basketball. So why don't we try to get you on the courts 3 days a week? Kind of take your mind off of,
right.
the addiction itself. Um, I just have a new client that, I mean, the dude is so open and honest with me, and he was in like a symphony choir playing the trumpet and stuff. So like he's trying to get himself back into music, but it is base by base. Everybody's got their own story, and we're just here to listen to it.
Right. I want to say, like, major salute to you, because, like, we were talking before, and we don't do this for money. Like,
Hmm.
and I said it wholeheartedly, but joking at the same time. Like, if you're in a field and you're in the field for money, this is not the field for it.
That's
You know,
right.
just
Yeah.
a lot of the funding isn't there.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Is that some of the issues that you've come across? Is it hard for you guys getting funding or grants?
Yeah, so we're we're a non for profit. So
Okay.
what basically our company, we bill insurance companies. So if I see John Joe tomorrow for 15 minutes, then I bill the insurance company that I saw him for 15 minutes. The insurance company then pays our clinic. And then our clinic, they have the people way smarter than me figuring out how much every person is allocated in funding, through the funding. So that's kind of how they come up with our salaries, and even things we can do with the clients, resources we can get them. Like I was saying, we're trying to get every client an iPad right now, so we can do
Right.
that virtual stuff. So that all that money is lump summed into one little thing there.
And that is, you know, and I know what it takes, right? Because I sat through the funding and grant process when I was with Family Guidance, and I was watching how that was allocated and distributed, and it's tough. It's
Hmm.
tough because certain states just don't have the money for it.
Right.
I A deeper question than that is, I want to get to the addict. I have two main questions, and the first one is, what do you do with the addict that needs help, that they're at the end of the road, they're at the rock bottom, but they just refuse?
You know what I hate to do on this podcast is give you the answer you don't want to hear, but
Right,
sometimes that's what you got to hear is, we have to meet every client where they are in treatment. And if a client is refusing treatment, we can only be here to listen. We can only be here to guide them as much as they're able to guide themselves.
Right.
What I like to do with my clients that are in that situation, I like to ask them, I don't know if you heard about it, the miracle question. So I say, if you woke up tomorrow and a miracle happened, what would your life look like? Now,
Right.
for me, for your average person, you might say, like, I'm on a jet, I got a mansion, I got a pool, this, that, the next thing. Where, you ask a client that, they might say, like, oh, I have a roof over my head and my family doesn't hate me anymore. So,
Mm,
there's a disconnect between how we are living our lives and how a lot of these clients have to live their lives.
right. The miracle question. I remember that vividly.
Hmm.
And there was a point where I was sitting with a patient, and I had asked them, what will it take for you to change you? What will it take for you to want to get help? And it was just the basic human needs that we all have that he didn't at the time.
Right.
You know, do you think in your work, right? How often are is mental health and addiction related? Meaning you're
Hmm.
always going to find one with the other.
I think it's more common than not. And I think what we look for is the individuals who are affected by substance abuse so much that it is affecting their mental health.
Right.
Because I mean, you think about it, everybody in this world has an addiction to something. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're the president of the United States. Everybody's addicted to something. It might be
Right.
coffee. It might be working. Everybody's
Cigarette.
got an addiction. Cigarettes,
Yeah.
yeah. So the thing is,
Food.
food, yep. We try to meet these clients like, all right, this client has a 10-year history of drinking alcohol, and now we see that's affecting her living situation, her relationships,
Hmm.
X, Y, and Z. And that's when we try to step in and bring them on to board with me being their counselor.
Right. What what was the toughest thing you've experienced so far in this journey?
Um, yeah, so definitely something that rings a bell. I was working at a place called Daytop, which was an inpatient for teenagers with addictions. And every day I'm coming in there, I'm trying my hardest to help these kids. Most of them are from Patterson, Newark. And what I didn't think about at the time is how these kids were brought up and how they were raised compared to how I was raised. And we did have a situation where this girl was so embarrassed because her mom got caught shooting up heroin in the bathroom on a family day visit. So we had all the families coming in, and this poor girl, her mom gets caught shooting up heroin. I'm trying to console the girl and trying to help her, but like at that point, what can you do? It's just
Gee.
there's so much more to the story than people see.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a lot of, as an addict, I would only allow you to see what I wanted you to see,
Hmm.
you know, and sometimes the pain is rooted so much deeper than surface level. And I just want to say thank you for what you do, and a major salute to you as somebody that, you're a little bit younger than me, you know,
Yeah,
but we grew up in the same area, you know, and
yeah.
I appreciate the work that you're doing.
Thank you,
Most
dude. Thank you.
most definitely.
Does mean a lot because we don't hear that every day.
Right.
So
Right. Um, do you think now you said that, you have a gambling addiction in which you know, your your eyes are open to and you're working against, right?
right.
Do you think that was something that has been in you since birth, and there was a trigger that switch that activated that, or how did that process play out for you?
You know, it's really weird because up until like my 21st birthday, I never even thought about gambling. I didn't even play scratch offs or anything. It was never part
Right.
of my life. And the first time I played was my 21st birthday. I went to Atlantic City with my godmother, and she gave me $400. And I saw that $400 flash before my eyes, like it was nothing. And I think it was just the continuous process of chasing that high that I got that first time. And I'll tell you, there's been times, and this is not anything I'm proud of. I would be in the $5 slot machine room. One time I hit like 20,000 in one day, and I put 18,000 back the same day. And it's crazy because you continue to chase that high. You get the high, you get the 20,000, and then what do you want? You want 40,000. You want 60,000. There's no end, no end in sight. It's a double-edged sword. Then you start losing the money, you got to win it back. So it's nuts.
Now, and if I'm too personal, shut me down, Mo. We have a relationship to where, what was your bottom like?
Okay, so yeah, my bottom. I was living. I don't know if you know the Tickle family. They're popular Phillipsburg family, and
Mm-hmm.
I was living with Keith Tickle at the time. We were roommates, and I told Keith, and he knows this now. I came clean with everything. I said, bro, I think somebody stole my rent money because I would put 600 on the door, before I go to work and stuff. I said, I think somebody stole it. And what I was actually was lying to him is that I gambled it away, and I had to like shake down, some family members to borrow some money just to get back and pay that rent for that month. And when that happened and I saw I was hurting other people around me, I said, I need help for this. I called my parents. They've been my biggest support. They've went through counseling with me. And they're still here for me. So that's something that that I appreciate. That not as
How has the bridge building process been since you've faced your bottom?
what was that?
How has the bridge building process been since you faced your bottom? Have you been able to repair these relationships?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, it's not like I ever broke a relationship. Like nobody ever held a grudge against me. Um, once I came clean with my stuff, especially, they said, basically we knew what you were going through. You're not
Right.
really good at hiding as good as hiding things as you thought you were. So
Nobody is.
that definitely came into play. Yeah. um,
Nobody is, man.
and
I swear to God, I was the best drug addict and nobody knew I was high all the time.
right. So it's been a process. I actually went to a gambling counselor who worked on me with she basically called it substance reduction,
Mhm.
which has actually worked for me. And she
And what
would
is
say like,
that for,
okay,
for what is substance reduction for the people that are listening that don't know
sure.
necessarily?
So I mean, you can look at it in any sort of scenario, but it's basically taking your drug of choice and just like it sounds, reducing the amount you're gonna, if you're drinking 6 beers a day, you're gonna reduce that to 4 beers a day, and then
Okay.
after 2 weeks, you might reduce that to 3 beers a day, so forth.
Okay.
Um,
So how did that
so
work with
so
you with
when
gambling?
yeah, so with gambling, I basically started with no limits. I was just going to the casino, um, bringing my Mac card, throwing my whole paychecks into a machine. And now it's like, okay, you $100 a month. You don't take your Mac card with you. You lose, you walk out. Um, if you win up to 200, you walk out. And that's where I'm
Right.
at. You know, it actually works for me.
Okay. Okay. Now, I want, because you know me and you've seen us, we came up together. Are there some questions that you have for me?
Yeah, I think I could come up with a few. um, my first question is, how do you feel about harm reduction, such as methadone clinics, needle exchange? Do you think those things are helpful? Do you think they're hurtful?
I think that's a great question, and I don't know if anybody would have had that in them to ask me that, because people usually know my stance pretty well. Um,
Uh-huh.
Done correctly, I think it it can be a beautiful thing, because I don't think people understand the level of seriousness when you're trying to withdraw from heroin.
Hmm.
Like I've seen people almost die because they thought that they could quit cold turkey. So if
Yeah.
you are in the right situation and you're with the right facility and you're taking, whether it's Suboxone or methadone, and you're taking it as prescribed correctly, and you know, substance reduction, and you wean yourself off. I've seen people live successful lives and stop that process with Suboxone and methadone and then wean themselves off that and never use it again.
Right.
And as far as the needle exchange program, anything to stop causing excess harm, the spreading of disease, the spreading of HIV, whatever the case may be. Again, like I know in some of the more populated cities that are suffering from opiate and opiate addiction and the heroin crisis, have this. If it's done correctly, it could be successful. You know,
Right.
how do you feel about that? Both.
So yeah, I worked at State Line Medical, the methadone clinic, for about a year and a half. And
Okay.
I had I had always gone back and forth. I was like, do I even believe what I'm doing here? Because I would see people getting clean off of methadone, and it really allows people to start over and give them a second chance at life. But I also saw the population that was using methadone as just another factor to get high.
Right.
And so, it's like anything in life. It's got its good side and its evil side.
Right.
Um, Overall, I think it's put in place so that, say we have 200 clients and it helps one person, well, that's one more person that would have been helped. You know, the
Right.
199 people, they probably wouldn't have got the help anyway. So I'm,
Chrissy, who is in the medical field, chimes in and says the right facility and doctor is huge. Exchange of needles is a need. It doesn't promote use. No, and I completely agree.
yeah, I think I agree with her as well. Um, needle exchange programs have done wonders in Philadelphia, um,
Hmm.
reducing that STD rate or whatever's being passed around there. Um,
Yeah,
so
I know there's a spot like down there, and they're in dire need. It's in Kensington.
Kensington is incredibly sad right now.
Yeah, it's I was talking to one of my guys who was in the same field the other night, and he had a patient down there, and it's heartbreaking the condition that area is in.
Yeah, I got a quick story about Kensington.
Go ahead.
Um, I have this coworker from my last job, and one of the nicest people you can meet. Good, very good friends with her, and her boyfriend was had an addiction, and she couldn't get a hold of him for like 3 days, and she was texting me asking me to help. What should we do? She was calling the cops. She said she drove to Kensington and just found him like a zombie on the street. I'm like, that's crazy, you know?
Like my guy referred to it as The Walking Dead.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and
And how can we change that? What can we do? It's you know,
yeah. Steve Strick chimes in. It also starts with surrounding yourself with the right and positive people. 100%, Steve. It really does. I remember, like, when I got clean, people, places, and things for me were huge,
hmm
and I had to. And looking back on it now, it was a necessity, but I had to end relationships. I had to stop being around the places I was at, and stop being stop playing Russian roulette with myself and allowing those triggers to be in my life, you know.
Hmm. Yeah, it's such like a basic saying. It's just people, places, and things is what it always comes back to. If you can change that in your life, you can change anything.
For sure. Like I always say, like if you hang out in the barbershop long enough, you're gonna get your hair cut, you know. And I use that a lot, and just because I can't hang out with the guys that hustle anymore, you know. I can't hang out, you know, at the bars and the clubs, and I can't do that to myself.
It's a whole different lifestyle now.
Absolutely. So what else you got for me? That was the first one was a great question. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Something else, something I've been thinking about is like, how can the general population, how can we help them understand addiction? How can we change the stigma behind addiction, even mental health at that? Because, my dad says I've taught him so much about this whole field.
Mhm.
You look in and you say, "Hey, why doesn't this guy have a job?" But you're not
Right.
understanding what this guy's dealing with on a daily basis. He might be hearing voices, might be addicted to alcohol while hearing voices, tries to get a job, has a criminal background check, can't get a job. I don't know what we can do to help society change the
I
stigma around this.
I think conversations like we're having, I'm always an open book to whoever's asked. I'm a talker, right? So whoever is asking, we can sit down and have a conversation. That's why like the people that I've been bringing on, like last week I had Jimmy on,
Mhm.
and Jimmy has came up through the ranks and is now working in the same field, and he's going for his master's degree. And it's these conversations like, you know, I I have a record, right? But now I have a great job and I've been in the field, and change is possible. It's the conversations that we have with people that open their eyes,
Right.
you know.
Absolutely. And I do have a client right now. I just spoke with him yesterday,
Mhm.
and he's working at McDonald's, and
Mhm.
I'm very proud of him for working at McDonald's. And he applied to work at Home Depot, and he said, "Yo, bro, I got shut down because of my background check from Home Depot, but I'm gonna
Mhm.
keep on keeping on." And I'm like, "That's what you got to do. You got to
You
keep
know,
pushing forward."
you you have to keep fighting a good fight. Like I remember for the first year and some change that I was clean, I couldn't find a job.
Hmm.
And I just, I kept like, like I said in the last episode, if you chase anything the way you chase your drug of choice, you will be successful. And I just kept knocking on doors and looking for work, and then something great fell in my lap, and they knew I was a felon, and they were willing to work with me on that, and here we are, you
At
know.
what point in your life were you did you have that like haha moment for yourself
As far as what, like,
changing?
yeah, every day is a little I get a little of that every day, but like even when I got clean, it took me a couple years before like it resonated with me that I don't need drugs to live anymore.
Hmm.
And that like I can really do this being a productive member of society thing. And probably like in my early 30s, you know,
Okay.
like I got clean when I was 29, and it took me a little bit to plant my roots and start my life over, but like shortly after that,
Right, right. Because I think, what happens a lot of the time, and it even happened for me a few times, is like, damn, I'm too old to start this shit over. Like, I'm just gonna keep
yeah,
doing what I'm doing.
right,
Nobody could change me at this point. But if you take that whole thought process out and you're like, I'm starting from day one right now, it's a different conversation in your head.
yeah, absolutely. Like I say all the time, like, you have to, no matter what it is that you're doing, whether it's your job, whether it's your home life, whether it's recovery, whatever it is you're doing, you have to remain coachable. You're never going to grow, right? Like, your mentality is always going to stay the same if you keep the same perspective. Like, you're never going to take that leap of faith or jump for something new and exciting if you just stay stuck in that mind state. Like the job I have now, I would have never taken the job, and I never thought I could be successful at it with that old stinking thinking saying that I'm only going to be a drug addict and a criminal, like.
It's like you can make as many excuses as you want,
Yeah.
and until you stop making those excuses, you're not going to change. So
I tell, like, the guys that I work with now, my family members and like people that I talk to on the daily, like, you have to live in a solution. Now, I understand that there's going to be problems, there's going to be bumps in the road, there's going to be challenges, you're going to get discouraged, but you have to remain in the solution, because if you don't, and there always has to be action steps. You know what I mean? Like, you can't talk. Don't tell me what you're going to do.
Right.
I don't want to hear, like, miss me with all the words. Actions will forever speak louder. Show me the action steps, and myself included. Like, on this little weight loss journey, I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to go to the gym. But if you never go to the gym, the journey never starts.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm going to stop using drugs tomorrow. Tomorrow will never come.
I think something that we're doing as a society and in this counseling field that's been productive is we've kind of changed to this person-centered treatment planning rather than like a one plan fits all. It's like, all right, you know what, TJ, what works for you? What do you need help on to get yourself better? Do you need a housing goal? Do you need to work on your coping skills? Like, what exactly do you need? Do you need employment? So I think that's been, at least from the ACT perspective that I work at, it's beneficial for the clients.
You have to meet people where they're at. But with that being said, meeting people where they're at, somebody else is here.
How y'all doing?
Connor, my man, what's happening, sir?
Thanks for having me. What's going on, guys?
Welcome to Spittin with Spitter, Connor. It's a pleasure.
What's up, Connor?
What's going on, Mo?
For those that are just tuning in, this is Mo and Connor. They were both in the field. Connor, can you please explain to the people watching what you do?
Sure. So I'm a licensed therapist in the state of New Jersey. I wear many hats. One of the nice things about psychology and counseling is we do lots of different things. So I'm part of a private practice. I run the mental health for a school district in Bergen County, New Jersey. I teach at Coachable University. And just this week, I'm volunteering. Not volunteering, getting paid. I'm working a side gig at a rehab in Bergen County with adults. So kind of lots of different areas of trying to help people make a difference.
We've been talking thus far about addiction and how what we can do to help and different aspects of what we see. Now, you work with teenagers?
Yeah, I worked with Mo for a number of years at a place called Daytop, which is the state's largest rehab for kids 13 to 18. Average stay between 3 and 13 months. Okay. We did that for quite a bit.
Now, what's working with teenagers like in this field?
I mean, I love it. Teenagers are the craziest people in the world. Mental illness or substance aside.
Absolutely.
And I have to tell parents all the time that not all teenage behavior is pathological. Sometimes they're just crazy teens, right, Mo?
They're the most fun population for sure.
Yeah.
So I love different for sure.
But in all seriousness, TJ, I think that teenagers they're old enough for the most part. They have some life experience and perspective. Right. They have some awareness, some consciousness to certain things. But they're not old enough where they've kind of taken the wrong path too far, hopefully. So it's a really beautiful time to intervene. Like, a big interest of mine is gangs. And you got like a 16-year-old kid who's like kind of on that line. And that's where you can, I think, do the most intervention in a lot of ways. So that's why I choose it.
Nice.
I'm able to meet them like in that fork in the road right there.
Chrissy says, I know Daytop, and then she says, you know who was there. Chrissy is a family member of mine, and we had a family member at Daytop.
Right on.
Can I ask you some personal questions, Connor?
Go ahead.
What brought you to this field?
Sure. So I was quite the wild child myself. I think Mo caught the end of it when we first met. And I had no interest in going to college. I had no interest of doing anything. I didn't know what I wanted to do, anything like that. But I'd seen a lot of therapists, and I thought they're all trash. I'd been in a lot of trouble and knew what that was about. And I had a school counselor who really helped me out. And I almost feel like she kind of applied to college for me. I don't even remember. But I got into one school, Rowan University. I thought it was in Arizona because it was like yellow and brown. I was like, oh, it's probably in the Southwest. And they're like, dude, it's in South Jersey. I'm like, where's that? So I go to this school, and then they're like, we have to pick a major. And I was basically like, well, what do I want to study? And like, what do I want to be? And I kind of had this epiphany at 18. I'm like, if I'm going to get a chance to like do something, I have a lot of friends who ended up, not doing things.
Right.
I said, why don't I give back? Why don't I become a counselor for kids like myself until I get a better idea? Right. I never had a better idea. So
that's amazing. Now, have you struggled with addiction in your life?
I think I will decline to discuss personal things on this podcast, but let's say,
I completely respect that. And I gave Mo the same disclaimer before we started. If there's anything that I'm asking, just shut it down.
I would clients ask you that a lot, especially the kids, right? Fixed. That's all you give a shit about, right? Can I swear?
Yeah, go ahead.
That's all you give a shit about. You don't say to the doctor, well, before I sign up with you, have you broken your left arm? Doesn't matter. If the person knows how to help you, that's all that matters.
Right. That's a great analogy. I always answer the question, but I may use that one day.
Do you think that there can be time where disclosure is actually helpful for the client? That's for both of you.
When I was working for Family Guidance, I kept my personal completely out of it. Like, my job is to help you get into a rehab or a detox, and you asking me personal questions about my personal life is not going to help you in your journey. Mm-hmm. There was one time where I knew the person, so I got called. It was an overdose. I got there. I knew them personally. So they already knew me and my story, so I can meet them where they were at a little better. So, but that was it. I keep, like Biggie said, keep family and business completely separated, something along them lines. Yeah. What about you, Connor?
I think that with self-disclosure, you have to be mindful of what is the motivation. Is this for the client or is this for me?
Right.
And self-disclosure, there's a whole spectrum. I mean, I think I'd be hard-pressed to know why you'd have to share any like major childhood trauma with a client ever.
Right.
But like, my day job working, I do counseling at the high school, mental health at the high school, right? Kids struggling with math, like, dude, I suck at math too. I don't think that's breaking any boundaries. You know what I mean?
No, yeah.
So, yeah, but it's about what your motivation is. Is this to get things off your chest, or is this to help the client to normalize the situation?
So for some of the parents that are probably watching out there, what are some of the challenges these teens are facing now? Because like when I was a teen, things were way different. I'm an old man. What they face now versus what I faced then, two completely different things. You, Connor, go ahead.
What are the challenges teens are facing now?
Mm-hmm.
What do you call it? A global pandemic, I believe is the term. I saw a meme recently that said your kids aren't struggling in school, they're surviving a global pandemic. Thoughts about that and political stuff aside, the isolation, the disruption of normalcy, the financial impact. I just finished a session with a client just now, and I was talking with her about how all this stuff has come up for her recently. I said, I think that's what the pandemic and the isolation has done for people, is it forces you to look in the mirror
Right.
It's almost like when people get sober, right? It's like that hard look in the mirror, that radical self-honesty. So that's obviously huge. What else we're dealing with today? I think this technology is a huge issue. Sociologists say in surveys today that people rate themselves as having more friends than any time in history. Like if you ask people, how many friends you got? Oh, I got 275 friends. Never in history. However, when you explore those friendships, the depth, the lack of connection, there's never been such a disconnected generation before. And kids don't know a world without iPhones. Seniors today, I'm trying to remember my seniors, I think most of them were born about 2003.
2003, yeah.
Yeah.
2003. Okay. In 4 years, our senior class will have been born after the first iPhone.
Right.
So, you know, I mean, we could go on and on all night about it, but I think those are two huge ones. The current pandemic situation is really hurting kids. Schools need to be open. I'm very, very firm on that. My district's been open since day one. We haven't had a single COVID case spread in the school based on contact tracing. And number two, the technology thing, it's a disconnection. It looks like connection. We're on the FaceTime. Right. It's not connection.
Right.
And I think parenting has changed so much as well. Like, you know, how do you be a good parent when your son is like, Jim, John, and Joe have an iPad. I want to play on my iPad. Well, you know, if you just shut up, I'll give you the iPad. So I don't know. It's a whole different generation.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to go to Mo for advice when I get to that stage.
I have, you know, and not to put my business out there, but everybody knows that I have a 17 and an 18-year-old, you know, and this right here speaks volumes. Everybody wants to be popular on social media, and that's wildly, like, I've seen it wildly, like, to the kids that I coach and my kids, and I see the effects that social media has on these kids.
It's a legitimate career goal. Kids say, I'm going to be a YouTube, what do they say? I'm going to be a YouTube influencer.
An influencer, yeah.
How's an influencer?
Right. I see that. I see it all the time. Whatever an influencer is, can I have it so I can have some extra zeros in my yearly salary?
Crazy.
It's crazy. What? And I don't like to keep people long because we are in the instant gratification era. Short, fast, to the point. What keeps both of you gentlemen inspired to continually fight the good fight and doing what you're doing? Mo, go ahead.
I guess what keeps me is, you know, like I said earlier, if I have 100 clients and I see that I helped one of them, I feel like I'm making that little bit of a change. There's nothing else I enjoy more in this world than trying to help people. And you know, like I really just couldn't see myself doing anything else when it comes down to it.
I echo Mo. I mean, you gotta really, especially when you're working in addiction specifically, you gotta really blow up the victories, man. There's a lot of losses.
Absolutely.
I'll give you two examples just from today. Like I said, I volunteer. I subbed in at this rehab. NJRC, by the way, a little shout out in Bergen County. It's a phenomenal facility. It's new. Great people there. NJRC in Fairlawn. So I'm in there today and I'm leaving, and this guy comes up to me and he says, Connor, your time here this week wasn't a breath of fresh air. It was a massive gust from the Sahara Desert. Like, made my week, you know?
Right.
I have a kid I talked to this afternoon. You know, he's involved in a gang. There was a whole situation. And, you know, I had to advocate for him. And he almost got kicked out of school. It's a whole thing for days and days and days trying to keep this kid, like, stable. And I talked to him. I said, I want you to go to residential treatment. I can't mandate it. You're not on probation at the moment, but you should go. He says, I'm going to go to residential treatment. So moments like that, the little victories that I was referring to, you have to keep that your focus, because if you focus on everyone you don't impact, you're going to burn out. You're done.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I say to my guys all the time, it's the little wins. Well, you just need that first little win to give you some confidence, and everything else is smooth. Usually everything else is smooth sailing. Life's always going to show up, right? But you get that first win, it motivates you to get the second.
Totally.
Now, gentlemen, before we get out of here, is there anything that you guys would like to ask me? Connor, I know you're late to the party.
I don't think so. My head's still spinning from doing 12 hours of therapy today.
Thank you for that. And like I said to Mo before, I appreciate anybody that works in this field and puts their time in. You know, thank you.
For sure. Cool. For sure. Thanks for having us on and whatever you're doing here. You know, any bit of positivity goes a long way, right?
Absolutely. What about you, Mo?
I think I'm all questioned out, man.
I appreciate it because I don't like answering questions at this hour of night. I appreciate you guys so much. We have one last. It seems like social media is an addiction for a lot of kids.
Yeah.
Oh, all the questions are coming in there. It's funny. I'm about to wrap up and then we got the questions.
Bring it.
I have a question for you guys working in the field. What's the success rate for those who don't want to follow a 12-step program?
Most taking a page out of my book. That's what you get asked all the time. People come into treatment at Daytop all the time. The first time you meet with a parent, what's your success rate? What the hell is the success rate? I can tell you about a kid who completed my program in record time, had the strongest discharge plan I've ever seen. That kid died. I can tell you about kids who got kicked out, taken out in shackles and chains from our program for selling drugs in the program. As far as I know, they're clean today. You got people who 6 months out, they're using every day. A year later, clean and sober. People who a year later, you know what I mean? They're doing the best thing ever. 3 years later, they're dead.
Right.
And I don't, it's got to be authentic for people. You know, I'm not going to say you have to do the 12-step thing. However, finding a way to normalize your life, have fun, have social connections. Mm-hmm. It's hard to do that unless you do 12-step. It's hard to make friends or find friends who are sober unless you're doing a 12-step program. It's not going to happen randomly. So I think there's huge benefit for it.
Mo, what do you think?
I was going to say, it's also important to remember that success looks different for everybody. So, you know, success for me might be to, you know, one day never, ever go into a casino again. As stupid as that sounds, that might be my success.
Right.
You know, where it might look like something completely different for somebody else.
It's not stupid. You know, when I got clean, I had goals like, I'll be completely fine after I get a year clean. That was my win, right? 11 and a half years later, like, I don't count my clean time as wins anymore just because it's such a structured part of my life. Like, this is what I'm supposed, like, this is how I live my life now.
Yeah. I had somebody in a group today, they made a point. They said they don't believe in early recovery or long-time recovery because you could relapse after 5 years. Every day is recovery. And
every day is recovery.
Can't get cocky.
No. Mm-hmm. You know, and I've been told this, and this has been an issue. Like, if I get complacent, my recovery gets complacent. Then I'm at my relapses prey. You know what I mean? Like, I can't fall prey to a relapse because I'm stagnant and stale in my recovery. You know, Jackie said, yeah, you're trying to wrap it up. We have questions.
I'm cool if you guys are. I gotta know where to be, but home playing with Magic the Gathering cards.
Corinne Shoup says, do you guys have anything to say about mental health?
I mean,
that's kind of broad.
How do you feel about water? What the
you know what I'll say is I find a struggle coming from an addiction counseling field to a mental health counseling field. Is I feel like I could actually see the success when somebody gets clean from drugs or alcohol. With mental health, I don't know what that success looks like because you're always going to have voices. You're always going to have bipolar depression. So maybe your success looks like you have a home now. You're maintaining relationships, but for me, it's so much different than seeing success in addictions.
You know, I'll piggyback off that, Mo, because I think that when we talk about addiction, where we get it wrong is we think about the substance. Right. Alcohol, drugs, sex, pornography, shopping. I don't give a shit what it is. We think about, if you're not doing substance, You are clean and you are good. And anyone who is in the recovery world knows it's about changing mentality. It's about changing your thoughts, your behaviors, right? Living a different lifestyle. So
Absolutely.
whether it's managing bipolar, depression, or anxiety, or managing cocaine, heroin, sex addiction, these things don't always look very obvious on the surface. I mean, it's how you live your life day to day.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I know a lot of I know a lot of addicts that manage their addiction and live day to day, and you wouldn't know it was a problem unless you really knew them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then I know, people like myself that you knew it was a problem. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Right. How often it's about self-centeredness in the rooms, right? That's like a huge thing in the rooms in Narcotics Anonymous or alcohol. Self-centeredness. You might not touch your substance, but if you have the same demons and the same behaviors, you're still sick, dude.
Yeah, 100%. Any tips for parents of teens?
Oh, that might be you. I don't have any teens. I'm not
She
really
did,
sure.
I promise you, the woman that just made that just posted that question does not want any of my advice as far as tips for parents of teens.
Parents of teens, communication. I mean, it sounds cliche, but communication. And like, I'll be honest, like any parent out there who thinks, I know my kid, you don't know your kid, because any parent who knows their kid knows they don't know everything.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And trying to shield your kid from any kind of behavior or situation. Well, they've had phones since they were little, man. They know more stuff than you. You know what I mean? So talk to your kids in a real way, in a way that would be authentic for you if you were X age. That's the best I got, man.
I think that's helped my relationship with both of my kids. And the reason why she doesn't want any of my advice is because that's my wife. And we have these teenagers together, but we both have great lines. I don't know everything about my kids. I don't know everything that they're doing. I hope that my relationship, what's that?
That's normal. That's okay.
Yeah. And I hope my relationship with them is open enough. I'm an open book to them. They're somewhat of an open book to me, to where we can handle it the best way we know how anyway. But gentlemen, with that being said, I appreciate you guys coming on the show. Normally on Spittin' with Spitter, the very last question I ask anybody, but this has been recovery month, so I haven't really been asking it, is what music do you guys listen to? But tonight I'm going to ask it because I know Mo personally. What's in both of your gentlemen's playlists? And we're getting out of here.
Go ahead.
I guess I'll go first because Connor's music, I don't know. Some of it's like the best music I've ever heard. And then the other half, I can't really tolerate. Connor does send me music here and there. And it's awesome. We still stay in contact after 10 years, man. I would say my playlist is mostly alternative rock, rock from like the 70s, 80s. And if I'm getting into rap, I only listen to J. Cole. I can listen to J. Cole like 24/7.
Okay. That surprised me. I wasn't ready for that answer. What about you, Connor?
My taste range, for my psych nerds, Carl Jung talked about the shadow self, the darkness, the side that we all have, right? My shadow self loves like brutal ass hardcore punk rock. There's a band called Cruel Hand. They have an album called Without a Pulse. It's like 14 minutes long, and I've listened to it like 500 times. It's great. The other half of me really loves psychedelic rock. Blind Melon. You might have heard the song No Rain by Blind Melon. If you listen to their self-titled album, they sound very different, very psychedelic, funky. I love the band Fish. Amazing live band. I love the Brian Jonestown Massacre. There's a rock band I really like right now that's unheard of from Australia called West Thebarton, like Thebarton. If you like rock and roll music, they kill it. So I listen to everything, man. I listen to everything.
No. Gentlemen.
TJ, you're into rap, right?
Me?
I listen to,
TJ.
in my old age, I listen to everything now. I'm really a moody individual, so it really depends on what kind of mood I'm in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if I'm at the gym working out, I can't really listen to rap the way I want to. And normally it's alternative rock, but like, you know, I like to listen to everything now.
Cool.
Gentlemen, one last thing, I promise this is the last thing. Where can people find you if they need to reach out for help?
Me? Where
Yeah,
can
Mo, you.
Well, you can just look me up on Facebook and message me. Anybody's open to that. My Facebook name is Mo Lovin, Lovin. You can find me there. Go ahead, Connor.
Copyrighted. If TJ, there's a chat here. If I type in this chat, can people see it?
Absolutely.
Boom. So I wear many hats, like I said.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm all over. So I don't know if people are looking for private therapy or if you're looking for, I don't know what. But email me at, that's my one of my work emails here. Did that come up?
Okay. I'm gonna post it as soon as I'm done because it came up in the private chat.
You got questions? I'm always here to talk or give advice, whatever. If you want to refer someone to me, definitely will see them. My availability on my caseload. Yeah, whatever.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming on this evening. This has been Spittin' with Spitter. I hope you guys have a great night. Keep fighting that good fight. Have a good night, guys.
All right, see you.
Thanks, man. Anytime. See you later, TJ. Thanks.